Hello and welcome to JoBeth Sexton's Crafty Cauldron. Today I have for you my newest junk journal. This one is called The Twisted Physician, and it is far less flowery than the fairy one. And it is kind of tells a story, sort of, kind of. It's about a guy a man who is a physician, but he's a little whacked out. He's a little bit strange. First of all, I have a handmade belt closure. This is handmade. I cut it out and attached the buckle myself. The stitching on the buckle is quite evident. It is black leather and it's very pliable. On the spine is some very smooth, pliable black leather with an attachment that I have roughed up and added some studs to. This, I roughed it up to make it look like it was a little bit aged. So there's that. The cover is made, and the whole book is built. This is not an altered book. This is a book that I built. It is chunky. It has 4 signatures and probably about 140 pages. I don't recall. It will be in the Etsy listing. When I list this, I will count the pages for you. Also, I have added some book corners on this that match the brass of the buckle on the belt and the studs on the spine. So the fabric on the outside, this is not leather. This is fabric. It's faux leather. It looks like leather and it's really nice and it's soft, like almost velvet. So it's really nice. Okay, so let's go inside. And what we have in here is we have this. This is a printout of some marbled paper. I believe it's called a Spanish Wave, and I got this in a digital download from Nick the Booksmith. All links to the people that I mentioned will be below this video. I built this gusseted folder type pocket for the front page. Then we have on this side, we have a, oh, and behind this is another pocket. It's a pocket and a pocket, if you can see that. There's a pocket here and then there's a pocket here. And I've done that. I hide pockets throughout a lot of my journals. This is a little journaling tag made with the same marbled paper. A real doctor's, this is from 1951, I believe. Real doctor's prescription, vintage prescription. A little tiny vintage, a tiny horoscope. It's like a star map, and this is from Chocolate Rabbit on Etsy. And then a giant book tag for journaling. And this page is from a 1953 edition of a book on Leonardo da Vinci's anatomical drawings. And I have left the signature of Leonardo da Vinci here. Our doctor had a little bit of a fascination with Leonardo da Vinci because he was far before his time, and he was very forward-thinking. So a lot of his illustrations were not received well because they were beyond, they were of the human body, and they were a little beyond what people were expecting. So in this pocket we have a picture. This can be anybody you want. It can be our good doctor. I say use the term good loosely. A confidential tag and some coffee dyed muslin. It's raw muslin, and a little button from a suit, and this suit was vintage. Then in this pocket we have it's coffee stained paper, and this is a prescription, copy of a prescription, and it's from Dr. Sweetser. And it is, hold on just one moment, I'm turning my phone volume off. It is just a copy, but it is for journaling. And here we can see that our doctor was using his fountain pen to try to forge the signature of an actual doctor so he could get medications. On this page we have, it's like a title page from a book that the doctor took, and then up here he's got written with a shaky hand and some ink smudges the word remorse. Then we have some pictures of bones from the Leonardo da Vinci book, and a tuck here made out of fabric, and there's a journaling card with a little tuck on it, and here, and it's on a old Rolodex card. Then we have some textile, some lace that's been dyed. Oops. And this paperclip holds this in place. I pulled it out with my ring. And then this is an old bowstring from an English bow. It was my husband's. Long tag, and here I have a check mark by this definition, population genetics. Then this pocket here that's been made of an old green folder and a faux envelope for note-taking, or whatever you want. More sewn on fabric and cotton, and a tuck with a Rolodex divider card in it for you to journal on. More journaling space here, and a blank page. This is a piece of a page from Treasure Island. The book is super old, and I had to glue this down because the pages are so brittle I can't fold them. They just break. They kind of disintegrate. But if you glue them down, they're fine. So this is a little notebook that I inked, and a pocket large corner tuck. Here is another tuck. It's a long pocket with a journaling tag in it. And this is a piece of leather, old leather, that I have roughed up to make it look like weathered skin. And a tiny envelope. This is from Nick the Booksmith, and this is as well. This is from public domain images. Then we have a picture from an old art book. It's a woman, it's a statue, and she's wrapped up in a cloak. And you can make up whatever story you'd like about that. And then this is another statue from the same book. It's just the back of the page. But I thought it fit there, so I didn't cover it. So more coffee-stained ledger paper, and then another page from the Leonardo da Vinci book describing the heart, and a heart, fussy cut heart diagram. This is a page about the ventricles of the heart. A coffee-stained page for journaling. This is a piece of coffee-stained cheesecloth, and then raw muslin, and then a tuck here on this tree, and I believe this is from Antique Papery on Etsy. Then more interesting, and the deal with this is that these look like trees to our doctor, so he kind of put them on the page together. This is coffee stained paper that I coffee stained myself and then stained slightly purplish red with watercolors. And this is another, he's collecting these prescriptions from Dr. Sweetser, and that's a corner tuck with some textiles here, and some of this fabric that's on the outside cover. Leonardo da Vinci page, ledger, and that's the back of the page with from the art book. This is a aged ticket that I used as a tab, and then this is to emphasize the fragility of life. If you wish more coffee stained paper with watercolor, I knocked my paper clip off there, and then this page has on it a piece of cowhide leather with the fur still attached, and it's really soft and nice, but it's meant to kind of emphasize that the doctor's like super not right in the head. So we have here, it's a little handmade envelope with some coffee stained paper in it for note taking, and that's where this goes. This is a vintage pearl button and a little piece of seam binding. Here is a little handmade notebook, and you can put it in your pocket, take it with you. It says observe on it. And then we have this tuck here. The paper clip is designed to hold that in place right there so it doesn't slide out, and then more bowstring here. This is something else that I threw in special. It's a specimen portfolio, and I learned this from Nick the Booksmith and made a few. This one was intended to go with this book from the beginning, so I have it full of little pictures of flowers And then there's some tag with there's a tag with bug parts, and it goes in that pocket, and then a picture of a child, a vintage card catalog book, The Adventures of David Simple, more flowers, a German dictionary page with, I'll leave that for you to adventure, vocabulary page, and then another journaling tag. And then that just closes up. You can put other things in here besides this and take this with you if you wish. There's plenty of space within, so you can put in like another little notebook, some credit cards, cash, business cards, such as that. So then that just, and this is all handmade as well. I did not make the string, however. But I did make the little circles, and I did the stitching and everything around. So there's that. Then on the next page we have, this is the second signature, and this is a picture from an old book about colonial living, and this shows two guys building a coffin in candlelight, which is what they had to do sometimes. This is another piece of paper. It's a vintage ephemera, a copy of an old prescription from Dr. Pierce, MD. And then this is a little spinner bookmark. And it is, I got the idea from Pam at the Paper Outpost. Thank you, Pam. And thank you, Nick. You guys are awesome. Then we have a page for journaling that's been coffee stained. And this shows how to do basic stitching. And take that with a grain of salt about our doctor. This is another pocket tuck with another, he's learning how to write this more forgery. Signature forgery there, and another little journaling ticket with the printout of the marbled paper on it. Then we have some parchment I've added lines to. This is a corner tuck, and the tag has a little pocket in it, and in it I've stuffed a little piece of the fabric from the outside of the book. And then this is one of my personal collection. It's an old photo with some kids from 1966. I just thought that went well there. Some really grungy muslin that I sewed onto the edge of the page, and then some more journaling spaces on dyed paper with watercolor. This is a card, but it's a Maxfield Parrish painting, but it's also a notebook with some pieced together paper, a library type pocket, and another journaling card here. This is not a pocket behind, but you get the point there. So there you have that. Then more parchment and a quote from Mary Shelley with another old prescription, some tissue paper, and this is another illustration from the Leonardo da Vinci book. I've added a piece of baker's parchment to make it look like tape. It sort of looks like tape, and because the page was ripping. And then I've left the edge all scraggly. And this is a diagram of the skeletons, figure 3, skeleton of adult man, and then this is the listing of all of what the bones are. And there are 3 of these within this journal. There's this one, and then there are 2 more later on. And this page has a little clip on it with an envelope on the back. It's a faux envelope, and you can attach whatever you would like there, notes, etc. Then on the back of that page we have another faux envelope and a pocket with some really grungy muslin, some blank pages for journaling, notebook page, and then this is a silhouette of a woman with a little public domain printout. It says The Cure of Imperfect Sight, and then that's been inked, as well as the pocket has been inked. More baker's parchment, some coffee stained paper, and then this is just to emphasize that our doctor is fascinated with things that represent other things. Take that as you will. This is not a book for children. Coffee stained and watercolor paper. This is the second diagram of the man. It's the muscular system. And then down here it shows details, and I've left this little scrap of cheesecloth in there. Coffee stained paper with faint lines, ledger. And this is diagrams of the leg and the muscles in the leg, And then this is, I'm sorry, they're sketches from the Leonardo da Vinci book. It's copies of sketches. And then this is the beginning of our third signature. And this is a short poem. Down here in this corner, we have some pieced together words. It says, Curious Garden. There we have that. Let's give my camera just a tad, a little second to refocus. Sometimes have trouble with this. Come on now, you can do it. Let's give it something to focus on. There we go. Awesome. So graph paper, more coffee stained paper. This green comes from black walnut tea. So this is coffee and tea stained. 2 pockets with some more notes. This is actually a card with some fussy cuts on the back. On this page we have a small piece of, it's leather, but it's made to look like alligator. Then on this page, it's just blank on these two, and this paper clip with a little rag of muslin is holding on a tiny notebook that says knowledge, and on the bottom of the page it says resplendent. So there we have that. More coffee stained, then there's parchment, and then this is a piece of tissue paper in a corner tuck, and this is I believe it's called a Rita Donnelly flip, where you have more journaling space on the inside of this little flip tuck pocket. A giant tag with some, this is a tag with pockets on the inside, world map, and then a little picture of, it's called the Witch's Sabbath. So, and then the book pages here, and then it's like a little journaling spot. And then there's a piece of tissue paper in there too. And then this is, I inked these with red ink to make them look like they were slightly bloody, because our little doctor here is getting a little bit crazy, more crazy. This is handmade paper, muslin, a dark fabric, cotton, and then a little torn piece of the handmade paper. And that is muslin. That is seam binding that I stained, coffee stained as well. Then we have more paper that's coffee stained and watercolor stained. We have some stitching on the bottom of this page where it looks like a crescent moon. And we have the third, and this third diagram has, this is a little, it's supposed to look like skin, like our doctor put in a piece of skin that he flayed. And what this is it's just a piece of glue that I put glue in my palm and then peeled it out and glued it in here and stained it with some ink, inked it up. So we have a little bit of journaling space here. This is intended to be whatever you would like, a journaling card, a bookmark, and it's got some more drawings by Leonardo da Vinci, and then stitching around the pocket. More coffee stained paper, and this is another pocket. There's actually 2 pockets here. They're tight, but there are 2, and a faux envelope made from a distress inked map page. It's an atlas page. Then we have a little slide that I created from some old scraps, and it looks like a bug specimen, like a butterfly specimen. Then there are more journaling pages, the walnut tea. This is a growth chart from my baby book. A lot of this stuff is personal and, you know, for my own collection, as small as it is, but yes. This is a public domain royalty-free image from a book that I copied, and then textile, muslin, and a scrapbooking paper that's been inked, so it looks really old. More stitching, coffee stained paper for notes, and a vintage button. This vintage button is covered with fabric and attached with hemp onto, it's actually attached to the paperclip, and then the hemp has been added around it. Some more pages, and then this is a copy of the woman on one of the previous pages that was in silhouette, and I've added some tissue paper over top of her. And inside this pocket is an eye chart and another copy of another physician's prescription. Parchment paper and stained paper, and then this is a picture of a euphorbia that I cut out and put in a frame behind some, it's like a plastic piece. It's meant to look very shiny and clear, like glass almost. This is another, it's from 1890, a copy of a prescription from 1899. A little bit of a scrap on this stained paper, coffee and tea stained. There's parchment, stained paper, ledger paper, more parchment. And then this is another hidden envelope. It opens up and there's pages for writing, and I have lined it with a page from the Leonardo da Vinci book. And then there we go. That just flips around like that, and you can close the envelope back up. This is more of the leather. It looks like alligator on top of a piece of coffee stained cheesecloth. More pages. This is a giant journaling card here. This giant journaling card is held on by an altered paper clip with some cotton, dark cotton fabric, and a button, a metal button, and then the back of it is it has been covered with coffee stained paper, and you can journal on that. And this is the center of the last signature, I believe. Then what we have here is something else that I learned from Nick the Booksmith. It is called a raggedy, and it's basically made to just go into your book and make it look like it's got a lot of stuff hanging out of it. They're really fascinating. You can use them for whatever you want. You can take it out. You can write on it. The back has more on it, and then it's got a little tag here that's covered with a dictionary page, and it's been inked. A little bit of the page from the Treasure Island book. And I've got the word moon circled. Here I've got the word gold circled. Here I've got down here it says fade, and there's more stitching, etc. Coffee stained paper, and this is a held on. It's just little scraps of paper for you to journal on, and a bookmark that is also, you can journal on this. I've left a lot of it clear. It says, ultimately. And then that attaches to this piece of inked parchment paper. And I really did this one messy because I wanted it to look like, you know, it's really getting beat up and stuff. More coffee stained ledger, coffee stained lined paper. And this is another folder with a gusset on the side. And this is a old Rolodex card with a diagram of the head, some paper here, and then this is a pocket behind a pocket as well. So those can go in there. And then we have another tuck with some coffee stained ledger paper, some textiles sewn on here with some green thread stitching, and more coffee stained paper. Here's another flip that you can journal on the inside of, an eye chart, and then a chart, a little picture with some people that are looking in this, I believe is an old telescope. And that is also a public domain image. And then on the last page, we have a book plate from Nick the Booksmith. And then a little folder with gussets and a book that says notes on it. A little notebook with some rounded corners. And that just slips right down in there. And there's plenty of room to put other stuff in there. And then this paper clip was designed to keep that in place. So it should kind of hang out the side a little bit so the button doesn't get in the way. But that is a vintage button as well. It's really old. And it's discolored, and it's really beautiful. I love it. This is a picture from Goya. And this is another piece of, it's like evidence that our doctor is a little bit wacko. He was fascinated by things that weren't real, of course. And then the back is a coffee stained paper, so you can journal on that. And it also reinforces the page because the page is from a book, so I wanted to reinforce it just a little bit. Then we have a little bit more of this printout of the marbled paper, and I have signed the book. The last thing that we have that goes with this book is a writing board. And I learned this from Pam at the Paper Outpost, link below. It's got some vintage music on it, some really nice gold corners. And then it's got on this side a picture from old history book. And this history book is from 1919, I'm sorry, something like it, first part of the 1900s. And what it is it's been covered with the paper, and then I covered it with beeswax or with wax, so it would be slightly more durable and slightly more waterproof. And then I painted the edges with some gold paint. So that is a writing board, and what you do with that is you say you want to write on a page where the page underneath it has been embellished pretty heavily. You can just put that between your pages, and then you have a secure flat writing surface to write on right here. So that goes with it. You're welcome to leave it in the book. It will fit between the signatures just like the specimen portfolio does. And then you can, for here example, it will fit right there, and it doesn't really add much bulk to the book at all. So this book is, let me just get my ruler and measure for you. This book is roughly 6 1/4 wide by 8 3/4 tall. It has a really large 2 1/4 approximately inch spine, and the open end is roughly 4 inches. So it's got a slight gator mouth on it, but if you take out the portfolio and the writing board and a couple of other things, it'll get pretty flat. So there you have it. This is called The Twisted Physician, available in my Etsy store. Please check the links below. I thank you for watching my video, and I want you to have a wonderful day. Peace, love, and remember, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Make it a happy, crafty, and colorful one. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.